Let this video be a warning to anyone who's buying a home for the first time. What I want to do is go over a video that I stumbled upon on TikTok and kind of just go over what this lady's addressing, and then let me give you like the full blueprint of the warning signs, everything you need to be aware of when it comes to being a homeowner versus being a tenant, being a renter. Okay, let's just get started with this lady.
Yesterday was my 3-year anniversary of becoming a home borrower. I borrowed this house from the bank 3 years ago, and I hate it. And some people are asking me why. Why do you hate it? Because I can't afford it. I can't afford this house.
Okay, first thing this lady mentions is that she hates owning the home because she can't afford it. And home ownership is usually more expensive than renting. Let's be honest about it, because it's not just about the payment, it's about everything else that goes into it. As a quick little example, let's talk about, the worst example, which is the roof. Now here in Florida, roofs will be rated for about 30 years, 25 to 30 years, but the insurance companies, they're going to drop you if you don't have a new roof replaced after about 15 years. So even though this is not part of your monthly payment that you have to take into account the cost of replacing that roof. So let's do some quick math. If it takes $18,000 to replace your roof and it lasts 15 years, then do the math, divide 18,000 by 15 years by 12 months, and that should show you how much you should be putting away into a separate account for the roof replacement sometime in the future. In this case, I believe that's right around $100 a month or so, So that's like a hidden cost. But if you were to do the same thing with all major appliances, so you would do the same with the appliances in your kitchen, and then you do the same, which might last for 10 years or 7 years, and then you do the same thing with your air conditioner, which might last 10 years. You do the same thing with your water heater, which might last 7 to 10 years. And you go through all the components of a home that start depreciating and getting older. All of a sudden your quote unquote rent payment or your cost of home ownership is much higher. Now the other thing I'll mention, which this lady doesn't talk about, is the approval process. So I have had clients that got approved based on an FHA loan going up to 59.9% of the take-home pay that you have. So for example, if you take home $5,000 every month, then they can approve you for a housing payment that's not including your electric, not including your water bill, not including your internet or anything like that, or your cell phone, just your principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and private mortgage insurance, which you might have. 59% of $5,000, that's, what is that, like $3,000? So now over half of your entire take-home earnings is going towards the housing payment, but then you have to pay for your car, your electric, like everything else, and yeah, you can't afford it. So she is talking about not being able to afford it. But let's keep watching, see what else she's saying here.
When I borrowed the house, I could afford it, and the bank insured that.
Okay, she's saying when she borrowed the house, I think she has her terminology wrong, but anyway, she bought the house and she borrowed the money, okay, to buy it. But let's keep going.
When I borrowed this house, my homeowner's insurance was $1,323 a year.
Okay, hold on. She's talking about homeowner's insurance, $1,300 per year, something like that.
Today, 3 years later, my homeowner's insurance is $2,654 a year.
Okay, $2,600 a year, from $1,300 to $2,600 over 3 years. So she basically had her homeowner's insurance double. This is another warning sign, okay? Your homeowner's insurance can double. In fact, it can go up a lot more than that. And here's the basic idea. First of all, this is $1,300 a year. So what is that, $110 or $108 a month extra that it's costing her? And she's saying she can't afford it. So it's telling me that, you know, she most likely was in a position where she couldn't afford the regular mortgage payment as is, okay? She was not in this position where she maybe had only 36% of her total take home be used towards the payment, okay? Because if $100 breaks the bank, I don't know, maybe you should keep renting, okay?
Now, I know a lot of people will say crap like, oh, well, you know, if you buy a house, your mortgage will be cheaper than your rent. Sure, if I were to rent a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, my rent would be a lot more than my principal and interest on this house.
Okay, so she has a 4-bedroom. So she basically bought too big of a house, and now she's paying the consequences, which is the third warning here, okay? I talk to my potential clients all the time about this when I have a young couple who wants to go and purchase a home, and you know, I say, well, what would you like? What are your needs list, basically, is what I'm trying to get to, but they tell me their want list, okay? And everyone always says 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2-car garage with a pool, and then they say some silly price like $300,000. Sorry, that's not going to happen. So I get them down to the needs list. And what I always recommend is buy the absolute lowest, cheapest, crappiest house you could possibly buy, okay? Like you can settle for. Now, don't necessarily go into the war zone area, okay? But if you're looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath or a 4-bed, 3-bath, if you don't have like 3 kids, then don't do that. Okay, buy a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And I know it's gonna be like, oh, whatever, just excuses, okay? Everyone's just gonna have a bunch of excuses why they don't wanna do that. But I'm telling you, if you're trying to get rich, then do that. Buy a 2-bedroom, 1-bath or a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Something that is just a bare minimum of being able to survive. Why? First reason is that your payment's going to be affordable. You're not going to be in this lady's position, okay? You're not going to be in this position where it's too expensive all of a sudden and you regret buying your house. Next is you can actually pay down that mortgage, okay? Because you have extra money in your bank account every single month from all your paychecks. So that's the second reason. But the next reason is because it really affects your debt to income ratio in a positive way. And what does that mean for you? If you keep your debt to income ratio low, which means that how much monthly debt are you carrying according to your credit report, compared to how much income are you bringing in according to your pay stubs. And if you can keep this ratio as low as possible, then in the future, when you're ready to buy your next home, or maybe your final home, right? Or maybe a duplex or an investment property or anything, okay? You're not gonna have a problem qualifying for that loan. But if you buy that 4-bedroom, 3-bath property like she's talking about, or whatever it is that she bought, then your payment's gonna be higher. Your debt to income ratio is going to be affected with that, and you're not going to be able to afford as much as if you were to buy a 2-bedroom, 1-bath or a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And then she said, you know, if you buy a house, your mortgage is going to be cheaper than your rent. And that might be true. I'm not going to say it's necessarily true at first, but I will say in the long run, it will be true. And when I say long run, I don't even mean like, you know, 20 years or anything like that. I'm talking about like 4 years, 3 years. Maybe right now you're going to be paying just a little bit more on your ownership, your total cost of ownership of a house. But in the long run, your rent is going to keep going up and up and up if you choose to rent. And if you rent it out, if you rent this house out one day, that rent keeps going up and up and up, which means that you're going to be profiting every single month if you turn it into a rental. Which is exactly what I've done. I've done this many, many times where I've bought a house and then I bought the crappiest, cheapest little place, something that needs like TLC, needs a little work, and then, you know, eventually move out, rent it out, and buy the next property and keep doing that over and over. If you do that every 2 to 3 years, you're going to be in a great position when you're, you know, my age, 45 years old, if you just start young, you know. So it's never too late to start. Even if you're 45 right now, just get started right now. And I recommend you buy the crappiest, cheapest place you can find. You want to keep your debt low. So she did say that you can rent for a little bit more than cost of ownership, but then once you start adding everything up, then it's more expensive to own at first. That's what she's missing. She's missing the at first part. So let's keep going, see what else she's saying about regrets of purchasing a home.
When I signed up for this fucking house, I signed up to pay $1,800 a month.
All right, she signed up to pay $1,800 a month, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Now it's more. I know it.
I'm closer to $2,200 now in 3 years.
All right, she's at 2,200 now. So that is like a big increase, right? That's almost 20% increase from what you were expecting to pay. Rent doesn't go up that fast in 2 years, 20%. But I know one thing she's not talking about. She's not talking about what interest rate she is, and she's not talking about how much of her payment is going towards principal, which is actually her money, right? That's building an equity position in your home. So she's not doing that math, because on a rental, you have $0 goes towards paying down your mortgage, your equity. It goes all into paying down the landlord's equity.
And it's only going to continue to increase. And that's kind of my issue with this right now.
Okay, yes, your principal, interest, tax, and insurance will continue to increase. Most specifically, it's going to be your insurance and your taxes that continue to increase. In some states like Florida, your taxes are going to increase very, very little after the initial surge. After the first year and a half, there's going to be a big initial surge, and then it's going to increase very little. But your insurance is where it can really go haywire. But that's why you want to go and continue shopping it every single year, because you can make upgrades to your home that will give you discounts.
Because I'm at a point where I'm like, this is actually no different than renting. The only difference is that I don't have a landlord that I can call when my fucking toilet overflows, or, you know, when the basement floods, or whatever the fuck happens. I don't have that option.
Ooh, very good point. As a renter, the landlord's responsible to do some things, to do some repairs if something floods or whatever, right? Now, she said if a toilet overflows, usually that's a user error, because toilets work just fine, and that is kind of on the tenant's responsibility. Some people may beg to differ, especially your renters. But when it comes to the repairs, any kind of repair, yeah, landlords are usually responsible for doing that, and you have someone to call. As a homeowner, you have to call and pay. So you have people to call. You just have to pay. That is a very big difference.
Of course. And we all know that going into homeownership. Like, I had the savings for that. It was, you know, I was fully aware of that. But everything is increasing. And we all know that too. Like, everything, the cost of living is increasing. And I can't afford this house. I hate it. But I can't, it's like, I'm probably not going to go back to renting, because I invested over $30,000 into living here for upfront costs, not referring to how much I've paid in my mortgage and all that, but...
Okay, so she invested $30,000 into the acquisition of this property, and she's regretting it. Let me tell you this. I'm pretty sure that this is just a very temporary feeling that she has, and she's, you know, just venting and verbalizing it on social media, which is okay, because we all go through these emotions when we make a big purchase, because it is very scary. And right now she's kind of going through one of the problems, which is there are expenses in this. There are expenses that you did not expect to happen. There are insurance rates that go up and taxes that go up. So look, for now, I can see why she would be upset. But let's revisit this video in 10 years and have an interview with her and see, you know, as long as she upkept the property, see if she regrets it. Because what she's not talking about is the equity that she's gained in this home. If she bought it in 2021, like, it doesn't even matter where she purchased. I'm almost positive that she has $100,000 or $200,000 in equity in this home. So if she was to sell today, she would get her $30,000 back, plus $100,000 or $200,000, plus she would have so much money. Okay, and she's not talking about that part. She's just talking about, like, on a monthly basis, it's costing a lot, and that is what home ownership is a little bit about. It costs you every month to upkeep it, and eventually you make more money as an employee or as a business owner. The payment stays the same or goes up just a little bit. And you're sitting in a really sweet position. Even just like me right now, I'm in a position where, you know, my mortgage is under $2,000, and I get to house my family of 4. I'm really happy about it. I know that right now, if I was to buy a house in my neighborhood, same size, everything like that, with today's interest rates, you know, my payment would be somewhere right around $4,000, $3,000 to $4,000. So I'm in a good position, but that's because I bought 8 years ago. And if this lady just waits 8 years, she's going to be in one of these positions too. So I stick to it, you know, just know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. But home ownership at the beginning is a little bit expensive, especially when you want to like remodel this and paint that room and do all these things to the house, okay? So let's just recap real quick. Why do you want to buy? Because it's going to be cheaper on the long run. And you're not going to make a landlord rich. You're going to make yourself rich. Well, maybe not rich, but you'll definitely make yourself some money. And I mean, tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. The majority of America, the majority of the self-made millionaires in America did it with real estate. The appreciation of real estate happened and they benefited because they bought, okay? And it doesn't matter if they bought at a high time and a low time. All you have to do to win is wait. All you have to do. So if you have questions, reach out to me.